I'm ready.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Yeah.
Count me in.
3.
Oh, Muse. Take us back to that first step into the unknown. The first taste of adventure. Fresh on our lips, like the taste of wine. Take us back to forests full of threat and promise, of encounter, of battle, of hope. Sing to us of two companions, their fate yet unknown, their story yet untold. Sing of their loss and of their gain. Sing to us, O Muse, a song for the dead and of the living, a song of mystery and magic, a song of Dungeons and Dragons. Good evening, gentlemen.
Hey.
We are going to actually finally play the first one we ever did, Song for the Dead. So we are going to start. Just, could you do me a favor? Could you go to images? And can you go to the Forest of Forgotten Battle? And open that up and tell me if you can see it.
Oh, I can see it. I can see. Yes.
Yeah, all good. Can you see yourself on it?
I'm going to see my icons really big. I can't see them. Oh, now I can. It's loading.
I'm a middle-class white man. I see myself everywhere.
Oh, we're starting already. And I'm just going to say, because I know we're recording this, this gorgeous map of the Forest of Forgotten Battles is brought to you by Kawaiju, who has been my map companion for all of this stuff. All right. So to set this up, I'm assuming there's you two. I don't actually have an icon for the dead body that you are carrying. The dead body has died recently. We're about to find out how recently. In fact, let's find that out first. So I've play tested the numbers on this a lot. I've play tested this, like the actual mathematics on this. And I reckon this is about a 70% success. 70% of the time when I ran the numbers, you get it there. Now you two though, I mean you two are like professional players, so I think I'd like to increase the difficulty.
The time will definitely expire. I would say that the chances of success are lower because Colin and I will spend all of our time role playing.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, it breaks down into 3 sections. You've basically got 8 hours of travel, 8 hours of essentially just sitting around and making camp. So you've got 8 hours to do that, and then 8 hours of rest. So that's how we're going to do this. So you've got plenty of time for that. But we are going to determine a few things. The first thing is, how long has this body been dead? Now, I make it 4-hour journey from where you were, which is, of course, the village of Dragonclaw, to where you are now, which is just about to enter the Forest of Forgotten Battle. So I make that 4 hours. But how long did you spend preparing, getting everything ready? I would like, Cole, can you just roll me a D12, please?
I can't. Got to do that with a bag. 3.
What'd you get?
3.
3. Okay. That's a good roll.
The first time ever, a 3 is a good roll.
Well, the good news is you've only lost 7 hours. 7 hours ago, this body died. 7 hours ago, this body had gentle repose cast upon it. Gentle repose, as you know or may not know, lasts 10 days exactly. The clock's ticking already, and we're 7 hours down. So you step in. You take your first steps into this forest. And let's allow me. You begin at the mouth of the forest of forgotten battles. There's a stillness. A mournful silence in the air, as if nature herself is showing respect for your fallen and for the quest that lies ahead. The trees reach up, green grasps of leaves wave in an unperceived breeze. You do not stop to take in the beauty. Time is against you. You've heard rumours of an abandoned diamond mine in the northwest, a 10-day journey from this point. You are going to have to make up that time. You know that this journey will take you to the night forest and the foothills of the Dragon Claw Mountains. You don't know what would cause a dragon mine to become abandoned. Probably nothing good. But these are not problems for now. Your comrade lies dead, and you have a duty to fulfill, a promise to keep. And after all those promises you've broken, you hope that this time, you manage to live up to your word. You step into the forest, and the foliage closes around you. And who do we see? Colin, can you tell
just
me the
before you
name
do,
of
those words, could you say those words again about the broken promises? Say that again.
I will. Where am I? I just improvised all of that, but I said
Rewind it.
your comrade lies dead, and you have a duty to fulfill, a promise to keep. And after all those promises you've broken, you hope that this time, you manage to live up to your word.
I think those are the last words that Wilkie said to me.
Is that
Those about keeping all the promises I'd broken. It's time for me to keep one. I think, if you're okay with that, Wilkie.
Yeah, sure.
Or I can do it the other way round if you prefer.
No, it's fine. Absolutely fine. No, it's...
So, Colin, so we've got Wilkie Glutton. Can you describe Wilkie Glutton for me, please?
Wilkie Glutton is a noble elf and comes with an adventuring pack and rations and all this. We got the word of this calamity, and I think she probably kind of got someone just to teleport her straight there. So, we're a couple of hours getting everything ready and then go, because this is something that we do. And she's a noble elf druid in kind of finery, but probably expensive adventuring clothes at this point. And she's kind of stood impatiently, probably expecting Funicular to kind of start driving the wagon,
Can you just describe her appearance a little bit for me, please?
An ageless Nicole Kidman is how I'm kind of going here, with maybe a little bit of Galadriel from Lord of the Rings, that kind of ethereal, otherworldly beauty that makes it look like everyone is punching above their weight, even just to speak to her. Haughty PC, wasn't a haughty NPC. It's possibly what I have in mind here.
Okay.
I suppose.
No, I was just pouring wine. So that's fine.
First line. She looks at Dr. Funicular and she looks around with a look of disdain, and she says, "What do you suppose he was doing in this shithole then?"
Dr. Vernacular, I believe that's your cue.
Dr. Funicular is wearing. He is also a highborn elf. I think in a little bit the wrong side of middle age, but dressing like a much younger elf. He's got like an oversized t-shirt on, and definitely a pair of the fantasy Birkenstocks on his feet. And I think round his neck, some sort of, I don't know, like some sort of almost like tribal scarf that he's culturally appropriated. Definitely an earring. And yet at the same time, he is fairly well built. You know, like we often think of elves as these, you know, dexterous, slender, but he's fairly hench. And he carries a shield, and over his oversized t-shirt, he's got some leather armor, and he carries a slightly battered looking sword that he can, you know, he puts it in I think he's got like a back scabbard. You know, I've always wanted one of them, you know. And he has long white hair hanging down. And I think, I think a sort of a slight, I think like you, I think Funicular, or Nicky, as his friends and patients call him, Nicky has just been transported here. I think he was, you know, in some other part of Gorgonia, and he usually runs a place high up in the mountains. So he arrives maybe with a slight dusting of frost across his fantasy Birkenstocks and his shield or whatever. But yeah, he looks over at a woman who somewhere deep in his past and his heart he still loves. And he says, oh, man, I really hoped, you know, it would be somewhere better than this.
What is that dreadful scarf you're wearing? And since when did you pierce your ears?
Oh, yeah, I just think, look, it looks good, okay? And I don't have to ask you what I wear anymore, okay? I can dress myself, man.
Did Esmeralda tell you that you looked good in that?
Look, okay, let's lay down some ground rules, okay? You're not going to talk about any of the wives I've had since you, okay? That's just like ground rule number 1.
I have no desire to talk about any of the wives you've had since me, or any of the wives you had while you were with me.
Fair. Okay. Fair. I understand. All right. What would you like to talk about?
How we're going
I guess
to do
this, and he points down at the younger elf that is, you know, gently reposing at our feet.
Yes. And she looks there and she says, all the progeny I have spawned in my long life,
Fuck off.
he is surely the most disappointing.
You pair of bastards.
Well, I always said to him, I only have one rule. You know me, I don't like rules. I only have one rule, and that is don't be an adventurer like I was.
Yes, and that worked out very well, didn't it? Look at him.
I know, and look where he is.
It's a horrible place.
I mean, clearly, I know what you're going to say. This is my fault. I mean, you love to say that. But how was I supposed to know that he would read the foreword of my latest book, about the Forest of Lost Battles?
What you would have told him it was a load of bullshit and you've never been here before for a start. That would have helped.
Okay, I may not have been here, but many of my patients have. And I was just, drawing on that, sharing it with the world, okay? I wasn't even sure he could read.
Oh, I made sure he could read. I did the hard work, don't forget, educating him. As you were out adventuring. Anyhow, those adventures never went further than the tavern.
Hey, and he flicks his scarf. I've seen the world.
Could either of you furnish me with the younger elf's name at all?
Ooh.
This is my dream, asking my other two besties to choose the name of their child.
I think you named him.
Yes, okay. Let me give him a really fancy name then. Lorcan.
Lorcan.
Nice.
Lorcan, a younger elf wannabe adventurer. All right.
At least he wore his warm coat.
Yeah. Oh, idiot.
Right then.
To start this evening, obviously, I'd like you to both take inspiration for me, please. You bastards. Nice. That's delightful. Thank you very much.
But he's just for age purposes.
Tell me.
Right? He is, because we're elves, right?
Yeah.
We're not dealing with like a young child here. I think Colin and I had a little chat earlier, and I think when I suggested this, Colin was a bit like, we're not doing a dead child. And I said no, but we could be like, past middle aged, and he's, 30s, the equivalent of being in his 30s, and he's a grown up, but we're just more of we're less of a grown up I think, emotionally. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to flag he is our progeny, but he's not a child.
Okay. Yeah. He's starting to become, he was starting to become an adventurer. He's made it to the Metal Lands. Dangerous place. I like it. I think you've been walking a while now, so I think it's probably time to make a perception check. If you look at your tables, there is one so entitled, make a perception check. Who would like, we need to kind of a little bit, your kind of divorcee bickering. I still assume that you would have your roles. Who's essentially the lookout here, would you say, or is this something that you would share?
I don't know what your perception scores are, so I'm not going to game it, but Wilkie is let me put it to you this way. Wilkie is the more academic sort, as judged by the kind of spotless kind of North Face, walking gear she's wearing, D&D fantasy North Face.
Can I just say,
we've got to rename North Face.
North Phase, as in FEYS, is a sponsor in Born to Run. So, You can have your
What's up,
north
then?
phase, as in the
It's
Fae of
spotless.
the North. Yeah.
Yeah. And she also
North.
has a kind of a telescope slung over, a small telescope slung over her shoulder, and a stone tablet with fine holes drilled through, which she kind of looks up the sky with every so often, as if trying to maybe find her way. So we'll see how good she is at this. But I'd imagine she's trying to, and she does turn to Funicular at one point. Did you ask for directions in the tavern, like I said?
Yeah, I did. And you know what? I think whatever they told me won't be as good as the path that we can discover ourselves. That I think, the path we find, the path we choose, that's the true path, is it not?
Right metaphor aside, you have 10 days to revivify your son. Actually, 9 days and 16 hours, give or take.
No,
Actually,
because
one
in Gorgonia, you're assuming Gorgonia has the same day structure as Earth, but days
The
are
longer
100 hours
zone.
long,
Mm.
in Gorgonia. So,
okay, give me that inspiration dice back. The other thing I'd like to ask you is what's your travel speed here? You don't seem to be in a hurry, but you have a choice between are you going quite fast here?
yeah, but I
Are you
think
at
we're
normal
elves.
pace.
Time for an elf is massive. Right?
Lovely.
So I don't think they do. I know you're saying that we've got a limited time scale on
You
the
do.
spell, and I get
You
that.
do. I'm
But
glad
I
that you
think the
do.
natural rhythm of movement of an elf,
Sure.
even when we think we're moving quickly, will still be like, we're not running away from a monster right now.
Of course.
Can we have
However-
normal speed, please?
Yeah. So just to clarify the rules here, you can choose between fast, which is 4 miles an hour, normal, which is 24 miles an hour a day, 3 miles an hour, sorry, or slow 2 miles. If you're going fast, you get a bit of a penalty to your perception checks. If you're going slow, you get a bone. You can use stealth. You can be quite stealthy. Now, again, things that you do know is that you have a rough map. You do have, as much as the delight of the journey is what we will make it, you do have a destination, and you do know the direction, and you know it's about 165 miles away. That's a long journey. And you know the time is ticking. So, if you're traveling normal speed, that's absolutely fine. But you'll be short. You could make the distance.
What would we know of the forest? How dangerous it is?
Not much. Not many people travel past. You know that.
Can I do a history check?
Yes, in fact,
You
exactly.
wrote a book
Please
about
do
this,
that.
didn't you? So let's see how
I
much
mentioned
you know.
it in the foreword. Let's see how accurate it was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
man.
All right. That's really good. So, what is that roll?
So can I
What'd you
explain
roll?
a little bit how I know about it?
First, you
He
can
rolled
rate the actual
23.
a 23. Tell me why
23.
you know this
Sorry.
place so well.
So, Dr. Funicular Jungfrau is a therapist for magical weapons that are suffering from trauma. Okay? These are the weapons of defeated adventurers. And he helps them sort of through martial therapy, right? Rediscover what they were made for, right? So he has spent a lot of time with the weapons of people who died. And I think he was fascinated by this forest of lost battles as a potential gold mine of of weaponry and of purged pain. And I think therefore he would know of the history of the battles that took place there with a particularly keen eye for wanting to find out about any weapons that he may have then been able to kind of appropriate.
There is one. I'll tell you that much. There is one. So with the 23, and with your scholarly understanding of this, what you do know about the terrain that you're about to face is that the Forest of Lost Battles is actually fairly tame. It's when you hit the river, Dragon Tears River, and cross over to the Night Forest that will eventually lead you towards the Dragon Claw Mountains themselves. That's the difficulty. That's the difficulty there. This side of the river should be fairly safe going. But you do know the distance. And so take that into account. 165 miles. You're moving at a normal pace, which is 24 miles a day.
Well, then I think if we know that this is the least dangerous, potentially the least dangerous section, my proposal would be that we would go quickly until we reach the river. That's my proposal.
Fine. So if you, the wind is blowing, could you make a perception check?
Going fast then.
You're going fast. So make a perception check.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I want to be able to go slower later, is what I'm thinking.
Okay. So you say this way is quick, is easy. This terrain is relatively straightforward. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, man. Way easier than what lies ahead. And
right.
I figured better go far, get a good fast start, and then later we can go slower when there's bigger fish to fry,
Okay, well, this is your area of expertise, I suppose. So,
thank you.
I guess
Thank
then
you
it's.
For that. I know it pains you to say
it. No. More than many pains you have caused me. Recognizing your talents is not one of them. So, let me see if I can get our bearings then. Seeing as you neglected to use your talent for conversation to ask the directions I asked you to get in the tavern.
I did discover that the barkeeper has very strange dreams about his mother.
Yes, I'm sure.
To be fair, that's normal.
The content of his tap, I'm sure, was also something you discovered while you were there as well.
So, travel speed is fast. Who's in front of? Are you side to side here, or are either of you? Are you on the wagon?
He's driving the wagon. I'm making the perception. I'm forging ahead and making the path.
Okie. Is there anything else you're doing this day? Is there anything else you're kind of on the lookout for? Is there anything? And remember, the one thing I will say, we'll talk about it a little later, but you don't have 10 days worth of provision. You left in a hurry. So that's something that we are going to talk about, but we'll talk about that at your first kind of rest. What I'd like you to do is kind of roll for the day in general. How well do you do that day? So on the tables, you can roll and make a perception check, or you can just roll and make a perception check, and I can just tell you. Okay. Is it Wilkie to roll, I believe?
I'll roll. I'll roll a perception check.
Tell me that.
Ooh.
Ooh.
13.
13. Now, I'm correct in saying that you're going fast, yeah?
Yeah.
So that's a -5 to that, yeah? So that's actually an 8, am I correct?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. On an 8, your navigation is quite sloppy. And I think this is fine because actually you're just starting out. I'm imagining you've teleported. I don't feel that you've seen each other in quite a while, no?
No, years.
Oh,
Years, right. So I think maybe on this very first day, the kind of it's quite jarring that the sight of each other. And so therefore, as perceptive as you may be, the actual navigation has not been great.
I think when she's in her observatory, Wilkie can point out the North Star without even looking. She can find, she can find the tip of the Gorgon's spear without without
And
even
then,
having to look. You know, but in the field, she's got very little field experience. She's not so good, and obviously meeting him, so she's trying to disguise this slight tremble in her hand as she kind of tries to find her way, find herself. I think it's a big day, and I think that this has obviously affected her ability to navigate. Yeah, and the clouds maybe as well. The clouds blocking the stars, ridiculous.
I'd say as well, possibly an issue that you may be having is that it's broad daylight, and so
Yes,
that might actually kind of impact her ability to see the stars as well. I what would my as a DM? I think I get +3 on my insight. It doesn't matter because I just rolled a 1. But I was going to make an insight check onto whether your character, like part of the reason that she's not done so well here is she seems to be downplaying the death of her child here, but I have no idea because I just rolled a 1 on my insight check into your character, so it doesn't matter. What I will ask you to do, please.
You know nothing of the love of a parent for a child,
All right, fucking hell, Jesus Christ!
I'm just saying that's what the dice are saying.
That's what the dice and my daughter is at times is saying. Wilkie, could you roll me a d6, please?
I love that actually.
I would like you to roll. I mean, you would like to roll low. Would you roll?
I rolled a 4.
Not great. Okay, a fast pace on a. I'm assuming what are we drawn here by? Like some kind of mule or something.
Yeah.
Goat.
Ruled on a what?
Goat.
A goat. All right, you've got a goat. Fucking
large goat. Yeah.
Large goat drawn wagon. At a fast pace, you can expect to cover.
It's called a Togoten.
It's called a Togoten. You can expect to travel 30 miles in fair terrain, and this is, like I said, this is well trodden. This is a well trodden ground, a well trodden path. But you didn't travel 30 miles. You traveled 26 miles though, which is pretty decent for a day. Do you, at the end of this 8 hours, do you push on after 26 miles? Do you kind of call that a day?
But Wilkie was navigating, I think Nicky, I'm going to call him,
sure,
would have been interested in any signs of what did this to is it Lorcan? Lorcan. Like,
would you
either by having a little look at the body occasionally, or just the terrain, the landscape around here, but just trying to get.
Which are you looking at, the body, or you're looking?
I think the body. Yeah.
All right. then I think that's more of a investigation check than a nature check. You can pitch for another one if you so choose, but I'm going to say
I'll go investigation. Yeah.
roll away and tell me what you've got.
I'm going to roll an actual. Ooh. 11.
11.
Because there's also a bit of this. He's not a doctor.
No.
So I think, and this is his son's body, and so I think he's also a bit squeamish about it all. Finds himself feeling a bit lightheaded at times.
On an 11, do you want to tell me what you find, or do you want me to tell you?
I think I'd like to know.
Yeah,
I think I would at least get a sense of whether what killed him was weapon or beast or spell. I think that would at least be, or some combination, right? I think at least he would get a sense of, he was cut down by a sword, or he was mauled by a bear, or he was, fireballed. I mean, like some of that stuff would be fairly obvious,
I would say on an 11. You pull back the kind of heavy rug that's covering your son, and you again, like you say yourself, you're not a doctor, and you are squeamish, and this is your son, and as you've lived for centuries, and it's just, and you have children, God knows where, all across Gorgonia, and probably some on the continent as well.
How dare you?
Yeah, you don't even know. And so you're surprised yourself a little bit about your own reaction. You find there's a little bit of difficulty to look. And although gentle repose, you could be fooled and think he's asleep. The wound itself is so explicit, so clear, so obvious that you draw back. There's scarlet cut across the torso, one side to another, deep enough to spill some kind of scarlet truths about the mortality, even of elves. And mortality is not really something that you struggle with. Your expectations are to live for centuries and centuries. So being cut down is something that disturbs you. And because of that, your examination is short. It didn't look magical, but you couldn't bring yourself to look for long enough to really feel confident to know that, is what I'll say.
But would I get a sense that it was weapon?
No, you don't get a sense of that. You get a sense that he's got a fairly deep gouge across his torso. That's all you get on 11.
All right.
That's all you get.
I think Wilkie says, what are you doing to the boy? Leave him be.
Well, I was just sorry. I was just trying to work out, like, who did this? What? You're not interested?
Does it matter?
I mean, maybe we're next.
Does it matter? He's gone. Well,
for now,
at least.
Yeah, that's the whole point, right? He's not gone. Okay, he's not left. Okay, he's not left. He's still here.
Do you think we take it for granted? She looks down at his wife. For life, I mean. We live so long. Do you think we come to take it for granted? Have we breed a recklessness in our boy?
I hope not. I think he wanted a taste of life. That surely is the great risk of long life, is to not live, to think there's always more time. Sometimes, maybe it's my job, but maybe the brevity of a full life is.
He should have stuck to his botany.
Maybe. Studying trees that grow longer even than I ever will. But no, I think he had the right idea, if you ask me.
Probably did ask you.
Yeah, I mean, he did write weird letters. Surely you got some. He was always writing them to us.
At this, Wilkie looks pained, distraught, and guilty for a second, and then the mask returns.
Chris, can you make a perception check, please? I want to see if you caught that or not.
17.
I think it is 17. Roll deception, please, Colin. I want to see if you see this or not.
Need to bring the feels this early. 17 deception.
Well matched.
It's a fucking roll off. Roll a d20 with no modifiers, both of you. Yes, please, Wilkie.
14.
Oh,
14.
8.
You don't see it. You don't see it. All you see is the stern reproach. You sense none of the vulnerability.
No.
And she kind of subconsciously, and you don't notice this either, touches a pocket in her robes and keeps walking.
Oh, God. You've had your first day travel. You made 26 miles, which is a little less than expected. You're still in the forest of forgotten battles. You kind of set up camp. I want to see how much provisions you have.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like you to roll for me, please. A D4.
D4.
A D4, yeah. What's your name? Nikki? Wiki? Nikki. Roll me a D4, please.
For Nikki. Actually, call me for Nikki.
For Nikki. Yeah, that makes sense.
4.
Oh, okay. And could you roll... Wilkie, could you roll me a D4, please?
For the listeners, that's me going through my bag. Oh, man.
Those D4s are well hidden. Roll a D6 and minus 3.
I've got one. Right at the bottom. Let this out. Okay.
Go for it.
2.
2. So you have 4 portions of food. You have 4 portions of food and you have 2 gallons of water. Now, per day...
No idea how to stock a quest.
You do not. At the end of the day, you need a gallon of... Like, through the day, you need a gallon of water. And through the day, you need a portion of food. So... You can, if you want to do half portions, if you want to ration, we can talk about that. If you want to, you're essentially in your downtime bit now. So there are things that you can do. You can't really continue with your forced march I mean, you can, but you have to roll against exhaustion. That's totally up to you. But if you want to just kind of scout out for some stuff, we can roll that and we'll see how you do. But at this stage, you've got your water and your food. The sun's kind of setting, but it's late in the year, so the sun sets early, and you've got quite a few hours to make camp, sort your provisions out before you go down for rest. So you tell me what you're going to do here, but know that you have 4 portions of food, 2 gallons of water.
I think Finnicky would turn to his ex-wife and, I hope this doesn't seem too presumptuous, but I thought maybe I'd save, and he points to the, camping rations or whatever that he picked up. I thought maybe I'd do a little bit of hunting, see if I can't rustle us something up.
Yes. Yes. Sure. Fine. I'll start a fire. Have you got a bottle?
Well, I wondered if maybe you could see if there was any more water.
Have you got a bottle?
Yeah. And he pulls out his kind of overpriced
Stanley cup.
Yeah. There you go. Hands it to you.
And she goes, and she opens the lid and sniffs it, and then screws it back on. Empty it then. Drink it. And she hands it back to you.
Fine. And I think he drinks a bit of it because it's alcohol. And then,
oh right, okay. And she opens it up and then, yes, right, of course, and then just tips it out onto the soil, and then drinks her own bottle of water, and then casts create water.
Shit.
And
Bastards. Does create water require any material components?
Just a mix of water and sand. A pinch.
So,
and her arcane focus probably supplies those things anyway.
So you need water to make water.
She's probably just a little mix of it, just a little bit. What's the point in a spell where I need 10 gallons of water to make it?
All right, fine. So this is me literally keeping track of all your provisions, and I'm just going to put a line through water now because you've broke that.
To be fair, it's not a cantrip. It is a first level spell. So in order to use it, I have used a first level spell slot. So I've waited to the end of the day to use it. So if that makes a difference to you, then
can you tell me how much
I deliberately
water
didn't
is
take
created?
good berry. I didn't take good berry because I wasn't going to be a complete dick. So
Hey, I appreciate that. Does it tell you
10
how much
gallons.
water? Oh well, fuck. Fine. Yeah. Did you read the rules? Did you actually? Did you read this question?
I think when you do this though, you fully fill up yours and half fill his.
Hey, it's our fault.
Yes, of course I have. I proofread this adventure. I didn't deliberately remember it, but I mean, and then I put it into the zine format that we sold at Expo.
Yes, you did.
So I've read it possibly more than you have.
Probably. That's terrifyingly accurate.
Let me just cross out that 2 and draw an infinite sign.
Yeah, I've already done it. See, there you go.
I'm not sorry. I'm really proud of myself.
No, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. That's fine. That's how we're playing. Okay. Food. You're gonna hunt. Now you have traveled 26 miles today.
Yep.
So any other
I
strenuous
was sat on a wagon.
any other mentally straining, any other strenuous activity does. So what I would say, I don't think you can hunt like big game.
No.
But I
No, I
think
don't
in
think you can
terms
either.
of no, I'm just saying you can't hunt big game. But if it was like setting lairs and traps, maybe I feel that's something you could possibly do.
Yeah, I'm
But-
talking about catching us some dinner, not like
All right,
a huge elk that we then portion and try and preserve.
Little
You know?
wood pigeons.
a boar.
Yeah. Maybe
Because
just
that's the other
stealing the
adventure.
eggs from a nest. You know, I just think that's what he's
Okay.
about.
All right, so you tell me what you're after.
Maybe we
and
should
we'll-
call this kind of foraging rather than like proper hunting.
Foraging sounds
But
not
I think
that
if he
strenuous.
spots like a hare or some sort of small creature, he may try and kill it because he
You live puzzle
unlike
alone.
because
I know.
one of the things that Wilkie and Finnicky both love is the night and the dark.
Mm.
So I think he's quite happy as the shadows lengthen beneath the trees. He finds himself more and more at ease, in that environment.
Okay. Tell me what your role is then, and tell me why.
So I would say that I'd like to use one of my Eldritch invocations, right? Which is one with the shadows. And that means that I can become invisible in shadow. Okay? So
What does it look like when this happens?
I think he literally kind of steps into the shadow of a tree and seems to disappear, and then all you see is perhaps like a shadow move to the next one, right? You still see his shadow moving across the ground, but you lose sight of his corporeal form, right? So I think he's happy in this dark space, and like I said, I think he's an elf. There's an element of the Fae about him, so he's not like a human would be, which is a very practical approach to like you said, setting traps, doing these kind of things, right? So it is, like I said, like picking up on a nest and stealing a couple of eggs from it. It is grabbing a wild herb that grows, and if he finds a little nest or a burrow or something like that, he may get an animal from it, but he's foraging to make them some dinner.
I think centuries from now, after the humans settle all this land, they still tell stories of Finnicky, the kind of prankster who just steals eggs and upsets the chickens and this kind of thing. I think this kind of trope comes from this Fey kind of trickster who just is one with the shadows. Is your role nature? Is your role performance?
I'll go nature. I like that. I could go deception. I could argue in a way, but I think I'm going to go. I think I'm going to go nature. I think that seems right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Roll your nature.
Ooh. That's a
What'd you get?
19 on the die.
19 on the die
Plus-
for a total
plus-
of
Plus 5. 20.
Plus-
He's an elf. He's clever.
Jesus.
24.
24. That roll
And
really
I think there's a bit of this which is about actually he
Cut me
wants
off
to
mid-run.
make a really nice dinner. Like I think he wants to make something like whereas he just saw Wilkie do something with such magic and ease, he wishes to produce something that has like crafty and like where he didn't use any magic, as he sees it, and he produces this dinner.
I'd say on a 24, you produce something pretty spectacular. And I want you to describe that to me. I want you to describe what it looks like in a minute. Because as you're out doing this foraging, this gathering, Wilkie, you're back at camp and the sun's set, night comes out, and you see the first stars of this place that you're not familiar with. The Metallands, are you? You've not travelled here before. And perhaps the stars, the constellations are perhaps a little bit different to you. So I think with your fascination of the stars of the sky, I think you'd be quite transfixed as what is being just minute by minute revealed to you. What do you see?
I think in the observatory, it's a cold, scientific, heated by whatever magic. But this is different. This is seeing it with the naked eye, and there's no light pollution here. This is the raw, unvarnished night sky, and is kind of a reminder of why she studied this stuff in the first place. And probably she's thinking back, even though she really doesn't want to, about the first time she met Funicular. And I get to make this up. She was dragged along to a festival. It's not her thing. She was in the middle of her thesis, and her kind of fun-loving hippie friend dragged her along to this festival. Said, "Come on, it'll be fun. You need a break. You need to get out more, man. You're so stuck up with the books and look into that telescope." And she rocks up this festival, and she's kind of, as the night goes on, her friend kind of pairs off with someone and disappears into the dunes somewhere, and she's left sitting there. And as she does, she's looking at the stars because there's fuck all else that everyone around is a moron. And she remembers this guy, this elf, this man who sits down next to her and kind of won't piss off, won't take the hint. And that was how they first met. And she's like, as she's watching him prepare dinner, and she's got the fire done, she doesn't want to think about it. And yet the reminder of what they had together was sat on the car, gently reposing. And she really doesn't want to think about it. And to distract herself from the encroaching kind of sadness that is, she's keeping at bay the whole time. She's mapping out the stars in her thing. She's like, and this is her way of kind of distracting her.
And yet, I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but for someone who's possibly drawn to the stars for a number of reasons. Number one, they're beauty, but there is something about charting them. There's something about knowing where they are and being able to categorize that. And there's something reassuring in night after night after night after night. Their patterns are made. And the patterns are fixed.
Yeah.
And yet, you find yourself under an unfamiliar sky. A sky where constellations that you thought you knew just are they're in a different place. They're wrong. They're wrong. Everything is different. And the predictability, the thing that you rely on, and you find beauty in this, but the predictability and the patterns are just different. And that, I think, is causing you, maybe that's one of the things that's causing you a little agitation. And as you are feeling this, and as you are starting to maybe get, and your mind is taking you places that maybe you don't want it to go, from the growth, from the overgrowth, from the trees, we see Nicotine. What are you carrying with you as you enter back into this scene.
I think he sort of keeps it a little bit of a secret almost. I think he's got a little like one of those bags, but it's made from like string, like where it's like a string bag, and he's got one of those, and he's filled it with all sorts of things that he's found: nuts, eggs, some wild herbs. Think he's managed to some honey, even maybe. But he's foraged various things, and I think he makes a kind of. I think he manages to make some sort of like omelette, which is like where he's whipped up the egg whites, and then he manages it so it, and when he serves it, it looks like he calls it moon eggs, right? And this was a little sort of joke that they used to have of him making these kind of really cheesy, like inspired by, and he always got it wrong. Like he wouldn't know the names of constellations or things like this, or the ones that he did know would only be ones associated with like mythology, not scientifically. But he puts this together, and it's got like I said, there's some nuts, like a little kind of granola-y crumb or whatever that he's managed to make, and then it's a nice thing that he's made, and he's got so wrapped up in it while he's doing it, and he's enjoying. I think one of the things about him is he is a bit of a knob, and I think he's enjoying the opportunity to be good at it, to be good at this and show that he's done well. And he slips back into old habits, and then he makes enough for 3.
Oh, fuck off.
And he doesn't think about it until the end, and then he's just like, he doesn't know what to do, and this moment that was just sort of all full of little bit of fervor and energy, he's just like,
I think Wilkie.
He's all, okay, interesting. Like, can I do my role now for him for a second? Across this jocular, relaxed appearance for a moment is something else, and then he just laughs it off and was like, I know you always like seconds, and just kind of gives her 2 portions, right? But for a second there,
perception versus insight, please.
Yeah.
What am I rolling? Perception.
Insight.
Just make it through the fucking tears. Oh, God.
It's day 1. I'm crying. It's day 1.
Look, what did you roll?
I rolled a 19.
I rolled a 1.
Brilliant. This is just what I want, because I think you try and give me a double portion, and Wilkie says, "Don't you dare serve him his portion." And she hands him a 3rd plate.
He just goes and puts it up on the wagon, Or I think we just set it as a 3rd place at the fireside.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. In a triangle.
Yeah.
And the kind of and Wilkie, like, as we're eating, she kind of pretends like we're sat around the table at dinner.
Absolutely.
Like family, like, how was your day? That kind of like, that kind of conversation.
I think we relive an old conversation in some ways. We just play through a rhythm, because I think that's one of the things as well about elves is that, and a lot of this, although we are studious, we are still belonging to this long line, long lasting. And for a culture to be able to last, for a civilization where the individuals live for so long, right, must require a great degree of repetition. And so I think there's an aspect of that where
and there was a moment where it was all about to fall apart, and that rhythm and repetition comes crashing back in to keep things stable.
And we just almost go through the motions of it. Yeah.
And Wilkie kind of says, "How's your mother?"
He is, as you might expect, a nightmare. But that's royalty for you.
We never could handle strong women.
I had long enough to learn, but not your skill for
No, I
picking
suppose
those
not.
things up. Much better.
Satanta wrote to me.
Who wrote to you?
Satanta wrote to me. He's doing
Oh.
well at university.
Yes, well, I'm sure he is. You're always keen for your guiding word from you.
Yes, well, got that one right at least.
And and I think they both do their classic thing as well of giving a little bit of extra food off their plate to their son, and they're just like, don't eat so fast, boy, and puts a few more extra nuts on his plate. Such a thin young man. Won't you join me this weekend when I go paddleboarding? Won't you come?
He never did eat enough. He never does. I mean, keeping it together, just keeping it together.
And I think whenever any one of us drops it, we give another one a look, just like, no, you still got this,
Yeah.
And just see each other through the illusion, Yeah.
You finish the dinner. What do you do with the plate of food that you've left with Lorkin?
Lorkin.
I'm going to write that phonetically. Time to kind of tidy down and get settled down for the night. Now, there's part of this. There's a sentimentality about leaving the food out, but there's also a practicality about leaving food out
and
in a forest.
I think Wilkie clears it away like you would clear it away. Ignores the fact that he hasn't touched it because obviously he's dead, and says instead and repeats that line. He never eats enough. I'm always saying to you, he never eats enough, does he?
I always forget. Boy, he doesn't like eggs.
And we just cleared away like he hasn't eaten enough. Like we just kind of continue on in that way. That's how we deal with it.
Yeah,
and that's how you deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is one of the ways you're going to have to deal with it over the preceding 9 days and 139 miles that you've still yet to travel to get to this rumored abandoned diamond mine. Because I'm going to need to ask the next time we play this why a pair of high elves don't have access to diamonds themselves and didn't bring it with them. And you can talk to me about that next session. It's 11:30. You tell me what you want to do now. If you want to call that a day, or if you want to do one more day's travel.
Well, I think
you tell me. I thought we'd get through 4 days. I swear to God.
Well, because we're elves, we only do trance anyway, right? So we only need 4 hours of sleep.
Fast. Yeah.
So I think we can get our sleep, but maybe in a weird way at the moment we're like one of us takes 4 hours and then the other one takes 4 hours.
I was going to say, do you have anyone on watch?
So I think that it is an 8-hour night in total.
I mean, you're right. You elves, you only need 4 hours, but
I think that facilitates this. Yeah, it facilitates that each of us has 4 hours, and that we are able. And I think there's definitely a worry about looking after the body. Because
it's not just
more than like something might creep up on us. I think we have enough campcraft to do that, but it's more like we've got a body with us as well. We need to be careful.
There's also a sense of waking the corpse here a little bit as well, right? It's like a kind of an element of tradition, perhaps. Kind of sit up with him and
Who's on first watch?
I
You
think I am, yeah. Finicky is.
Okay. Wilkie, then you go down for the night. You get your, well, I say night, your hours, 4 hours. Dr. Fenacula, you are awake in a forest, a completely almost alien forest. You've written books about this forest, that's correct.
I think he doesn't write a book about the forest as such. It was the foreword to his book, which is called The Six-Sided Soul, or The Six Sides of the Soul is the name of his book. And the first part of it was about this. The foreword alluded to this kind of treasure trove of lost battles, and in a way, that's what the book is about. The book is about how loss and losing and being defeated is a starting point for recovery, right? And of rediscovering your kind of purpose and skill.
And do you take solace from your own word at this point?
Yeah, I think I read to him.
As your ex-wife, who's a long time, lies there. As your son, your dead son, lies next to you. What do you do? Do you take solace from your own?
I think
ideas,
I do a thing that we used to do, which is that I tell the story of a weapon. Like, so I think I do the classic kind of thing, right, of showing off to your own son. So I think he summons his sword and he puts it. He gets up into the wagon, sits up in the wagon, gets out his sword, puts it next to him, and he begins to tell the story of the sword of. I've made this up tonight, but the sword of Siegfried is what he's called it, right? But I think something happens, which is that when he tells the story of the sword, he always does it as if the sword is speaking, right? Because that's the nature of his kind of therapeutic interventions with these objects. That's his skill that he has, is that he can see the story, he can channel the story of the object and reveal its past. And I think he does that. And that was always his party trick with his son, is that now he would tell him these stories of battles and whatever, and these objects that he would have gathered, and take him to museums and show him these weapons. So he tells him the story. And please don't ask me to extemporize it right now. But I think just he has like, he starts, and actually, you know, it would kind of probably almost be in song, wouldn't it? An element of it would be almost like something a bit more, you know, like that.
sort of pentameter, maybe.
Yeah.
It'd definitely be in hexameter, I think. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
guess who's got some homework this week? So I think these 4 hours pass in that way. And again, there's something, you keep going back to the same patterns. The family dinner, the reading to your son.
Yeah.
And there's solace in that, but you're an educated man, and your study is the study of the mind, of the heart, of the soul. And so there's a kind of consciousness in what you're doing. You're aware of what you're doing and why you're doing it. And you can never really avoid the truth that this is upsetting you. This is upsetting.
Oh yeah.
And there's a lot here. There's a lot here. The 4 hours pass, and it is calming. Tell me.
I was going to just say that, but I think, but this is a man who feeds off that kind of pain. You know, I think he is, you know, some people enjoy a certain, enjoy might be a bit too clumsy a word, but like that there's a pleasure in listening to sad songs.
Yeah.
There's a delight in it, right? That you have sometimes, and I think he is also indulging here in a way.
Yeah.
So it is upsetting, but that in a way is his comfort zone, and I think he's
Can I
quite
ask
comfortable in that. Yeah, go on.
because I don't know the answer to this myself for my character. Does Funicular fully expect to revive Lorca?
Yes, 100%. It is inevitable.
Because there's an element here of two parents kind of fetching the naughty boy from detention, getting him out of this mess he's gotten himself into again. And there's also a sense of, maybe the greater realization that he's dead, and I guess, yeah, so the sense of wallowing in a sad song, kind of pretending that he's really gone, but fully expecting to be able to bring him back is an interesting set of feelings, I guess.
Because I think that's what he does. Like, he's a therapist, so he moves through sadness into, restoration and rebirth and growth, and like that's his jam. So I think he's like, yeah, this is the stage we're in. Let's wallow in it, and then because eventually at the end, I'm going to give him a big hug and and then be absent again for 100 years.
We will see. 4 hours pass. You wake your ex-wife. You take your rest yourself. Wilkie, your 4 hours vigil, how do they pass, please?
She sits on the wagon, kind of next to him, and she's kind of talking to him, like he's there. And she says, how did he spend his time? Playing with his weapon again, I suppose. But then again, you always did enjoy that. And she looks at him for a while, and again she touches that same pocket that she touched earlier, and she goes, did he ever write back then? Once. Did he ever, even once, write back? Those letters you sent him. He ever reply? Did he? When you told him of your adventures and what you were up to, he ever offer you any guidance? No, I suppose not.
Can you make me a perception check, please?
16.
On a 16, you're aware enough of the forest and your surroundings, and although this is an emotionally charged moment for you as you relive relationships that you haven't maybe thought of for quite a long time, you are still aware enough to know that this part of the forest, offers no threat.
Okay. Yeah, and then she says, she's kind of almost angry. She says, fine. I didn't mean it. Okay? I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said what I said. I was angry. Guess I'm always angry when it involves your father. And I shouldn't have said it, but it gets me so angry. I just look at that man and I think, what a waste. And I looked at you and I thought that you were going the same way. So I'm sorry. Didn't mean it. And I'll say it to your face when you're back.
I would like you to make 2 rolls. I would like you to make both an insight and deception against yourself.
Okay. Which one am I rolling first?
I want you to roll an insight first, please.
6.
6 on an insight.
Mm-hmm.
Roll your deception, please.
7.
So what we can see is that both of them are low. But your deception of yourself is just ever so slightly higher than your insight. So when you said that line, I'll tell you to your face when I see you again. Do you believe that?
Just about.
Just
It's a really thin line. And I think the kind of motif, the idea here is her anchor is the stars and they're still there, but they're ever so slightly off. And it's like, it's just about, she's just clinging on to that.
Yeah.
Just about.
Yeah. There's enough of a pattern. And as you take the second 4 hours, so you watch these stars move slightly across the sky as the sun ever so slightly, ever so slowly begins to rise on the second day of your travel. And that's where we'll leave it today. You've made 1 day's progress. I genuinely was like, I've only planned up to here. What if they get past? I should never worry about that stuff at all. Never.